Hey everyone, sorry for the long delay. Before we got the news about Splitgate 2 it's going back into beta, I posted a tweet. Here, let me pull it out right now. I posted a tweet and it was stating that I'm currently not that enthusiastic about Splitgate anymore. Splitgate 2 specifically, sadly. And I got a lot to say, but I won't be able to fill out all of it with the limits of Twitter posting. Expect a video in the near future on my YouTube breaking down my thoughts on it and criticism. And yeah, that's this video. So I'm gonna be explaining my thoughts of why I have lack of motivation to play as much for right now. I organize a lot of these into like a doc right now to try to organize all of my thoughts because there is a lot of thoughts. I'm expecting this video might be a bit long, so just bear with me. I'm also probably gonna go off script here and there too if I have like more additional thoughts. But yeah, we'll begin. All right. So number one is balancing the game. Right now, I feel like this game has a huge issue is the factions, right? Sabras is just too much in terms of like the smart wall ability and their equipments. I mean, you could nerf your smart wall cooldown uptime, sure, like they've done that, right? But it doesn't change in a situation where they can just simply put it down still at the start of a fight, and they will most likely win that engagement every single time. That's very annoying to go up against, and they could use it in a way to control objectives still with the shield. Even when they don't have one, they could either block portal walls with smoke grenades, or block the enemy vision with it, or be able to stun players with proximity mine coming into objective, or even throw down some free damage with sticky grenades and heal with a quick portal retreat. There isn't very much counterplay to a lot of this, and I think instead of them focusing on nerfing them, which if realistically speaking, they still have to do uh much more nerfs to be in line with balance of arrows and murdering. But I think it's like instead of them like nerfing suppress down to the ground where like this becomes not fun and enjoyable anymore, why don't you just start focusing more on buffing arrows meridian? I feel like that's my main issue. Like you guys are not giving me a lot of like reasons to play arrows meridian compared to surprise, I feel. And I think the gunplay has gotten to a point where it's pretty balanced now, especially after the recent updates, like across the board. It feels way better now, but so I'm not gonna really talk about their weapons because I don't have much complaints about their weapons right now. But so like this is mainly strictly talking about their abilities and equipments. I'm just annoyed how overpowered suppress equipments are compared to like other factions. Like maybe just give Meridian some sort of like equipment blocker or like equipment removal. I'd be fine with that. Perhaps an update to their radar equipment, maybe. Like maybe it'll have like be like a bonus effect it can do. And I find it silly that like arrow shock disc can just backfire at you and stun yourself. Like why do that when the proximity mine, like sure the proximity mine could stun yourself, but it's less likely that you will do that to yourself than compared to like an arrow shock that just bounces back and hits you. Like I don't know how many times that's happened for me with arrow shock this, but it's so annoying. Um, but yeah, with how strong the surprise equipments are, I don't see any reason why the shock disc should come back to harm you. This is silly to me. Um, but yeah, I think these could be big changes, possibly being more line of balance compared to surprise. I also just think that like Eros and Meridian should have their own unique grenades as well. Not your typical sticky grenade, but you know, there's something like interesting and unique and plays out differently. Just any sort of damage equipments, because it's silly to me that Express got damage equipments, but Eros and Meridian just don't right now. But yeah, I just don't like having to rely on using Sabras like most of the time, or struggling going up against two or more very good Sabras players on the enemy team. It gets very repetitive, common, and annoying. So that's the first point, right? It's the balance issues I feel across the factions. Number two comes as someone who is a big enjoyer of hosting custom games and, you know, who build maps, is that map browser and custom game settings are lacking. Now, there's a lot of game settings that you could change with your game modes. Let me see if I can get into them. Let's see. Create lobby. Alright, so yeah, there's a lot of settings you could change. So yeah, you got your base rules, your mode rules, map rules, team rules, player, loadout, abilities, rules, bots, spawning, all of that. There's a lot of stuff in these, but like a lot of them are kind of like unnecessary if you ask me, compared to stuff that we really want that was a thing in Splitgate 1. And like that was like, for example, force custom loadouts, like actual weapons loadouts, which there's no customization of weapons right now for custom settings, which is really disappointing. And the ability to just go naked as some like no weapons, like you have to pick up the weapons on the map. That's something I really want to have too. That could also be very nice to have with, like, let's say you have a custom map that you don't want players to harm each other. Let's say it's like a teamwork thing, or like an obstacle course, something like that. Or maybe you just want to do some kind of traditional like battle royale, right, where you pick up weapons. I think I said that a little bit ago. If I did, apologize. But yeah, it's just something in that lines. And then the ability to save custom game modes, like there's no current way to save the custom game modes. And that is really, really annoying when you have all these different settings you could change. And it's just, it takes time to go through all those settings and change. And also, like, you probably are gonna like not be able to remember it. If you have a lot of them change, you're probably gonna have to write it down beforehand or something. But also, let's say I go into the map browser, right? Descriptions don't show. So when you upload a map, right? You can put a description, but like let's say I click on CXG's Nuketown, I don't see a description. That's like that for every single map. When you upload a map, you can add a description, but in the map browser, it doesn't show any descriptions. So I think it's a bit silly that you can't say anything about your map, but it gives you that option with Map Creator. Or, yeah, the lab, right? Um, my next step, my next point is that it needs a better sort by system and a better default system. Right now, the default system is sort by A through Z. There's a lot of misconception that like, yo, this is uh the most popular maps that first shows up. Sadly, it's not. And this whole A through Z thing, it's easily abusable by just uploading a map with a bunch of spaces, as you can see that everyone's been doing here, right? They're just adding a bunch of spaces around their map so they could go up top of the list. That's very silly. I think that, they should just have something where like be like most popular like that previous week or month for plays or something, right? For the default. And also allow us to search by the creator, please. Like I should be able to type like my username or something and it'll pop up my maps or something, right? Or let's say I want to type in coma. It's like where's coma maps? Um, but yeah, I'm pretty well known in the community, but like no one's gonna know how to find my maps unless I post the details on social media. And not everyone's it's gonna be on the social medias that plays the game, right? So I just want the maps to have more abilities to be exposed to the community and players, so they can actually play your maps and like I didn't write this down, but I think it should be noted too that like there should be like some sort of like system or showing how many plays there are so you can actually see how many people have played your maps. But yeah, like that sort of engagement I feel like would be like more enjoyable to just keep at making maps and sharing with the community and stuff. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah, we don't have a lot of these right now. It's been demotivating for me for the map creation side. So I feel like I'm being limited as a creator. Since Splitgate 1, you were able to really do a lot with mix of custom game modes and map creation. We just can't do as much within Splitgate 2. I just think we should be allowed to attach a custom game mode to the custom map in some way too, if possible. So like let's say a map was made for a custom mode in mind, then players can just load it up aside alongside it, right? Um, 'Cause then otherwise you're gonna just kind of like run to some maps that are like, how is this to be played? How is this meant to be played, right? You probably could just also attach this like official game mode too, like this map for example, it's this FFA, right? Let's say I click on this, it's already selected with FFA or something. Like they could maybe do something like that. I think that could be really cool. Um, but yeah. Point number three, the amount of bugs and performance issues this game's had. Now, I don't know what it is about Splitgate 2, but I constantly run into performance issues while playing it. This is especially occurring on Onslaught maps and Battle Royale. And with both of these options being a big portion of the game that I just simply can't play, there's a big portion of the game I just can't play, right? And then um, the next part that I had an issue with that have actually finally got fixed, um, which I don't really have much of a concern now, but I did then. That was part of the reason why I got demotivated to play. Was the challenges took way too long to actually fix, like the daily challenges, the weekly challenges. We could finally progress through those now, which I'm happy for. Like I was having a blast making some progress on these challenges, like week 8 and 9, a couple of days ago. So at least like that's been that motivated me a little bit to play that day on stream a couple of days. But it's not enough for me to play long term. 'Cause again, there's a lot of concerns I still have for the game. But yeah, the challenges was broken for the longest time, but it seems like they got that in working order now. Um, but yeah, I also have performance issues with the other game modes too. It's just not as severe as something like Onslaught and Battle Royale. Like they're at least playable to an extent, but sometimes that could be rough. Sometimes I have to restart my game too, because I feel like there's like some sort of like memory leak or something that happens over time. Or I don't know. It just seems like long periods of times that I've played for the game, it usually gets worse. So I have like restart or something. Alright, number four is even though this doesn't necessarily affect me because I'm not a big microtransaction like player. I don't really buy microtransactions in video games due to my own personal uh experience where I kind of like spent too much in a video game that I shouldn't have, and I regretted it since. So if you're ever wondering why I don't spend money in Splitgate, even if I get money, it's mostly that. I mean, I did buy the battle pass, right, and progress that. But yeah, if you're ever wondering why, this next step is about my concerns with the microtransactions, right? Now, the issue is that the store isn't fully transparent about the value of Perlium or even shows the variance costs that the variance costs to unlock them, right? Like these variants. You see how I'm like going over them and they're locked and they don't even tell you how you unlock them. Fun fact, if I go to locker here, you go to brass, and there's a jackhammer, right? If I go to jackhammer right here, for some reason I can see it in the locker, but it doesn't, it's hidden in the store. This is very weird, and this needs to be better like displayed to the player, especially on the store page that, yo, these variants cost certain Perlium. Now for the feature bundles, like you'll have like upgrades and stuff, those cost 20 Perlium. But yeah, so um but yeah, the feature bundles when they're in the store, they'll claim that they're like 4,000 split coin, which on average is like 40 USD, right? It isn't actually 40 USD or 4,000 split coin because of the Palladium costs. Because they actually require it's an additional 440 Palladium. How does one get Palladium, you may ask? Well, if you purchase the Battle Pass, let's say I just purchased one chapter for 500 split coin, which that's what I did. I purchased it with $5. I used the split coin rewards to claim the other chapters, which I did. So I got split coin from chapter 1, right? So each chapter gives you 600 Palladium each. Each one is or not 600, my bad. Each one gives you 60. So because each one is 10. So you get 60, 60, 60, so you get 180 there, right? So you can get 180 overall in one season. And the reason why I got 250 because I think there's like some Palladium thing I got in like an event. And also there was the like 2 or 3 week long beta pass that had Palladium as well. That's why I'm at 250. I haven't purchased anything with Palladium by the way, so that's basically I think that's the actual cost, the actual amount of Palladium you can currently get in the game right now without buying anything. If I'm not mistaken. If you only use the majority of split coin earning by playing for Battle Pass chapters, it would take you 2 full seasons and a half of a season in order to claim all the Palladiums. Then you could finally get the variants of all the feature bundles. That was like 440, right? So that is the waiting game solution to get everything in your 40 USD feature bundle, right? Which would take on average about 8 months of waiting. Or you could purchase the max split coin bundle for 99.99 USD, which grants you 11,500 split coin, and purchase this one, the 500, which still gives you 12,000, right? And you could purchase wherever the future bundle that pops up for 4,000 with that, because what's it, 12,000, right? You'll have 12,000 split coin. So you purchase the feature for 4,000, you'll have 8,000 left over. You could then convert those 8,000 by claiming this 2 times, having 480 beryllium, and then 440 out of 480 beryllium you could use for those variants in that feature bundle. That is expensive. That's 100 here and $5 here. So the bare minimum, if you want everything right away, you either have to play the waiting game for 8 months or spend $105 in the $40 bundle. That is a bit messed up. And to top it off, these bundles were at double price at launch. It shocked myself and many players that had gotten overlooked at. Even thought I have a lot of respect for Ian, the CEO, the GOAT himself. He didn't take full responsibility on this when he addressed this before the decision was made for the prices to chop in half. He put some blame on a hire that came from working with Call of Duty before their departure from the team, which came off as kind of personal, which I thought was unprofessional, as this came shortly after like a week or two of him throwing some shade towards Call of Duty when he was on stage for the official launch of the game during Games Fest conference, reviewing their Battle Royale mode at Game Fest back in June 6th. But yeah, he said he's tired of playing the same Call of Duty every year then, right? And it was kind of like, it was pretty unprofessional. Even though I do agree on that point, but which I'll get to later, why it's an issue for Splitgate. But yeah, it's right here, right?
You played with us. Now, with the help from our amazing community, we've built Splitgate 2. Why? Because I grew up playing Halo, and I'm tired of playing the same Call of Duty every year. And
yeah, so there was that on stage, and then when he did the whole price split, he had this to say again, like, back to, this is basically like apology video here. In the apology video, he's talking about Call of Duty.
Wanted to start by explaining, obviously we put out a video, we slashed the prices yesterday, but I've had a lot of people ask me, like, how the hell did this happen in the first place? Like, $80 bundle, like, that's not the 1047 way. And I agree. So I thought I would just candidly tell you exactly what happened. So I'll start by saying, no excuse, of course. Like, I should have been on this before I explain, like, we should have been on top of this. But what happened is the second I got off that stage, I called Derek, our lead game designer, and I said, Derek, like, did you know we had an $80 bundle? Like, this is news to me. Like, what the heck? Like, that makes no sense. And he didn't. And essentially what happened is our former head of monetization, who happened to come from Call of Duty.
Yeah, that was the part I want to show. But yeah, he more shade at Call of Duty. I'll get to why that's an issue later, but basically this issue, I want to talk more about the microtransaction portion right now. But yeah, it has major issues that I feel like the team isn't aware of, and many players aren't aware of, that I learned over time of Perillium costs. That's why I like this, by the way, because I thought like, oh, it's cut in half. It's just straight up 80. It's $40 now for everything, right? This was before I learned, oh, there's all the Perillium costs. That makes it more expensive. It's like, bro, what the heck? But yeah, to any of the devs within, right, of the team, please reconsider the whole system of Perillium moving forward. even though I'm not really a investor in your guys' marketplace, it makes me feel nauseated by the idea of like players feel like they might have gotten scammed because the lack of transparency of how to claim the rewards or not knowing about the palladium rates, which the palladium rates are confusing by the way, because like the first one's like 1 out of 25, I think the next is like 1 out of 20, and then the next is like 1 to like 61 point, yeah, it's like 1 to 60.67 or something like that. So these conversion rates are also like confusing, and it doesn't even tell you here, it doesn't like show them the conversion rates, right? While here it shows you the bonuses you get, but yeah. In my opinion, these like add a layer of confusion, and I think the entire bundles, the entire feature bundles, including the variants, should only cost the consumer 40 USD at the very most across the board, right? So like let's say they could probably make their base rewards like 30 USD, so like 3,000 split coin or something, and then maybe the rest of the variants and unlocks would be 10 USD in total, so like 1,000 split coin, right? And I think more people will be more excited to buy their stuff in the store if it was done like this. And I I know they could probably do something like this in the future, and I have a suspicion that they're looking into this because we happen to be missing a feature bundle for this chapter right now. Everyone expected it would be like an Arrows one because in chapter 1 we had Meridian with Nana Swarm, and chapter 2 we had the Suppressed Space. So everyone thought it was gonna be like an Arrows one. We don't have a feature bundle. We got feature offers, but feature bundle itself, like the main big ones, right? But yeah, um, but yeah, back to discussing Ian. So my next topic is my thoughts about Ian, the CEO, right? I've been around for a while within the Splitgate community, and I believe he wants what's best for everyone who plays the game. He listens to the community, and that isn't going to stop. And I honestly feel the internet was a bit unfair and didn't understand his message on make FPS great again. It wasn't political. It was just a statement because the state of multiplayer FPS games has gotten really ugly over recent years, and he wants Wicked 2 to open the possibility that FPS multiplayer games can be good. However, I feel like he should have known the possible repercussions going on stage like he did, or at least have someone within the team to warn him about the possibilities with the whole cap, for instance, right? Or possibly rehearse his speech with his team or something when he was throwing shade at Call of Duty, right? Um, because like the internet is very hostile, or could be oversensitive, or just simply just want to see the world burn or stir up some reactions, which just ultimately led to the game being downloaded on Steam very badly and hurt the game at launch. I think he knows this, that he was partially responsible for the game's failure at launch, for the mixture of the controversies, right? And the shade towards Call of Duty. And, also the overlook of microtransactions was very good for Splitgate. And I respect that he eventually apologized for all of it. I have faith that he's going to try his best moving forward to not repeat possible mistakes, possible mistakes like this, or to not present himself with a ego. Because going on stage like he did for the Games Fest to give shade to other developers, even though I 100% agree that Call of Duty is one of the big lead contributors for FPS games not being so great anymore. You are, however, presenting your own game in the same competition. Throwing shade isn't going to work. It will only anger that community to wanting nothing but Splitgate to fail. I believe Ian's going to be more careful, and I really hope he does because I don't want this game to fail. I know he doesn't want it to as well, more than me, because this is his career, this is his baby, and he's got his friends and peers within the team too, and their jobs and livelihood is on the line, right? I can't imagine the stress he's been going through having to, you know, let go some of them from the team, and that is why I'm glad that he's ultimately pulling the game back from launch into beta, because I think that is the best possible move right now that 1047 could do for the game to even possibly get a combat in any way. Um, I know I've been saying a lot about Ian's actions in a negative way. Just know that I don't want any harassment towards his way, and I'm just speaking from the heart here, and what I feel is the truth, right? From what I've seen in my point of view, that these events did harm Splitgate in some way. You can't deny that it did not. It did harm in a little bit. Ian's not fully responsible, but he is partially responsible because of this. It's my point I'm getting at. Um, and like, once again, I know he wants what is best for everyone. He's trying his best, and he's growing to a space from that he's going through a space that he's not even like a AAA developer or anything, but he is competing. He is possibly competing with these big FPS giants, and that's his vision too for Splitgate 2 is to be competitive with these FPS giants and potentially be even greater than them, right? But yeah, there's going to be mistakes. All we can do is try to overcome them and learn from them. Um, so my number six, uh, the number six segment, the Splitgate 2, I felt like cared more about supporting the sponsors than the real fans. Now I don't have the info pop up, but there was some info about, I think it was like $400,000 spent on content creators or something like that. Um, or like sponsors. But yeah, it rubbed me in the wrong way that most of their social media was about the paid sponsors for the game and hardly any for the actual fans of the game. And I feel like this wasn't the community I knew from Splitgate 1. Felt like we weren't being shown or presented in the community by the devs as much as I hope. For example, with the amount of videos I've done for Splitgate 2 up to its release. I know I haven't done much videos since release, but I've done a lot of coverage. I've also worked on making some maps within the game, streamed it quite a bit during alpha, beta, and launch. And also, I founded and built a Splitgate fan community, Splitgate Architects. I felt like none of it was really addressed at all from the team or shown as much appreciation as I would hope to see. I think the only ones that really came to mind was basically everyone that gotten laid off over time from the team, sadly. I also hope that at least I would have a response to my MVP application since I applied back in alpha, but it's been cold silence, and I know I'm not the only one that may feel of expertise for the game as a custom map designer, because I haven't heard from any of the custom map designers gotten a reply yet for their MVP applications. I don't think any of them did. And I also just find it strange as someone who has won the category for best community made map within the Splitgate Awards in Splitgate 1. And I also have my own name on one of their maps, Zenith, like Code Phoenix, on their Hall of Fame. And they know I've worked hard for building content across the board since then, right? Uh, they couldn't just like I feel like they just couldn't at least give me a response, and I was a bit hurt at the time that they didn't even invite me out to test out the alpha map builder builds. when the lab got in the review. Like when the lab review dropped, we had these creators on board that was part of it, and for some reason I just wasn't included, and that did hurt me a little bit. But outside of myself, it's not about my. It's not about me, but I also just feel like a lot of the creators need to be shown some more love and rewarded since to provide content for the game. It's because of the loyal fans and new fans of the game that produce content after content, or even like people that just actively play the game, will be the real reasons why your game will have any relevancy. Not the paid sponsors are just going to drop your game as soon as they get their bag, and their followers are just going to follow them to the very next video game they center their content around. And yeah, it's, for example, you guys got your MVP program. Do more of it, please. I don't want, even if I never become an MVP, I don't want the current MVPs in the program, um, you know, not get as much appreciation or discoverability that they deserve. Like, show them more in social medias. I know that I feel like they have been doing that a little bit more recently on social media. But yeah, just keep that up, right? Keep doing stuff for them. Um, Point number 7 is my fear is that the damage has already been done, that the game won't be popular enough to support itself. With all the damages that has been already been done to the franchise reputation for Splitgate at this point, it's gonna have to do some major changes that I feel like people will want to come back for, and they really need to knock out some bugs and have everything working right away this time for launch, or they'll very least be able to fix the problems quicker. With all the amount of layoffs they have done for the game, I fear that we're at a point where there isn't going to be a big amount of manpower within the team to do what needs to be done. I know they're going to try their hardest, but that worry, even before they announced that they were going back to beta, I felt with the lack of activity within my own Splitgate community, like Splitgate architects, and not as much people trying to reach out to me to play some games anymore within Splitgate 2. And there was also this lack of activity I've seen across the board, like, for example, the sponsors no longer playing the game, or even some MVPs too, or at least not as much. And overall, not many streamers are playing the game like there was anymore too. I felt the game declining in real time that made me lose hype for the game overall. But yeah, so my final point, my closure here. So yeah, um, even though that is going to be, I know I hope I was able to form all my overall thoughts to the community for why I'm currently not as motivated to play it. I will say though, I want to be motivated to play the game more. It's just it needs a lot that is currently missing to keep me invested right now. I'm not quitting. Just going to be playing in more smaller doses for the time being. I will, however, be playing Splitgate 1 every Saturday with custom games hosting within our Splitgate community, Splitgate Architects, up until they shut down the servers, because that is happening very soon. They announced that it's gonna happen about a month or less from now. So if that's something you guys will be interested in, click on the Discord link in the description. So yeah, peace out, everyone.